190 and 491. If you can see me and hear me okay, can you please put a comment in the chat box? So Migration Queensland has given us some updates in a recent webinar. So they have given us some of the glimpse of the nomination program, that how it will look like when they will reopen this financial year. Okay, can you please put the comment if you can see me and hear me okay? Hi, Preeti. Okay, can you just put a yes if you can hear me? All right, and then we can talk about, okay, that's excellent. All right, so with Migration Queensland, so like I said, they have given us a glimpse of what new migration program will look like in this financial year. Now, before we talk about the Migration Queensland's program, I want you to understand that first you need to meet the requirements that are set by the Department of Home Affairs. That is that you need to be under 45 years of age, you need to have competent English, you need to have a positive skills assessment, you need to have a minimum point score of 65 points, including the state points. So these are the minimum requirements that are requirements for all states, and on top of that, each state will have their own requirements, and Migration Queensland also has some more requirements on top of this, on top of the requirements from the Department of Home Affairs. So Migration Queensland has got three streams. In last year as well, they had three different streams. One is that if you're a skilled worker, like if you're working in Queensland. The second one is if you are an international graduate of Queensland. And the third one is if you are a small business owner running a business in regional Queensland. So these are the three streams that they have. We can talk about each of the streams to see what the criteria will look like. Now, the good news is that they do have some flexible options for their graduates, and they also will be opening for offshore applicants, which is a great news. If you're an offshore applicant, you've been waiting for a while because most states were shut last 2 years. So Queensland has announced that they will open for offshore applicants as well this year. So for the 190 nomination, of course, you need to have occupation which is on the relevant list. So it could be on the MLT SSL, could be on the STSOL list. They don't have a specific occupation list, which is great because pre-COVID times, they used to have their own occupation list called as QSOL or Queensland Skilled Occupation List. So they don't have it anymore. If you're a skilled worker, you could choose any occupation, which is really good. You need to have minimum of 80 points, including state points. You must have proficient or superior English if you're trying for 190 with them. You also need a full-time job offer letter in your nominated occupation and minimum of 6 months of work experience full-time. For them, full-time is 35 hours a week in your nominated occupation. Now, the good thing is that if you are a trades worker, you don't really have to have a proficient English, which was like a mandatory requirement last year. You can apply with competent English and minimum of 75 points, which means 70 of your own and 5 the state will give you. You are eligible to apply. But then, of course, if the competition is high, they may invite applicants with higher score. Still, do keep trying to get proficient English, though, if you want to apply for 190. Now, it'll also be open for 190 for offshore applicants as well, but they will have a specific occupation list and will only have 102 occupations in there. Yeah, the offshore applicants will still need 80 points for most of the occupations, and they do need 3 years of work experience as well, unless some occupations may require less work experience, but some occupations may require higher work experience as well. They also need to have proficient or superior English, and they will be inviting. So most of the occupations that you will see for offshore applicants will be in health, engineering, advanced trades, ICT, tourism, and hospitality. So that's the 190 criteria under skilled workers. For the skilled workers for the 491, of course, your occupation could be on MLTSSL, STSOL, or ROL list on the from the 491 list. Minimum of 65 points you can apply. So if you're somebody who doesn't have 80 points, you could try for a 491, but you need to have 3 months work experience in regional Queensland full time immediately prior to lodgement, and you will also need a job offer letter in regional Queensland for a minimum of 12 months. So this was the requirement previously as well. So it's the same requirement. They will open for offshore as well for 491, and they will have 114 occupations available. They will need 3 years work experience, and some occupations may require higher work experience, and must have proficient or superior English even for a 491 if you are an offshore applicant. Now, this is for the skilled workers in Queensland. And now let's look at the Queensland graduates requirements. So if you're a PhD or doctorate graduate, you do not need to be working in your nominated occupation or do not need a job offer letter in your nominated occupation. But please keep in mind, like I said before, you still need to meet the requirements that are set by the Department of Home Affairs, which is that you do need a positive skills assessment, minimum of 65 points, competent English, and under 45 years of age. So that requirement needs to be met, even though you're a PhD graduate. So it doesn't mean that you don't need a skills assessment. If you're a master's graduate, you must have completed 100 of your course in Queensland, graduated in the last 2 years. And if you are a master's graduate who has completed a master's in a STEM field, which is science, technology, engineering, mathematics. However, they will clarify all the fields under this, and they will give us the specific names of the fields that you need to have your master's degree in to qualify for 190. Then in that case, you do not need work experience, but you need to be currently working in your nominated occupation on full-time basis. So they need minimum of 2 pay slips you can provide, and also a job offer letter is not required. So they just want to make sure that you have got a job in your nominated field if you're the master's graduate in the STEM field for 190. And for 491, you could have done masters in any field and employed full-time in regional Queensland, and they do not need a job offer letter or minimum of 3 months experience for a 491 if you're a graduate. Now, many of you have asked us that what if somebody who has not done a master's in STEM field and they want to apply for 190. Now, for them, they need to apply under the skilled workers category, which means that they need 6 months work experience and a 12 months job offer letter in their nominated occupation to be eligible for a 190. So master's graduates can still apply for 190, just that they need to meet the work experience requirement. Now, if you're a bachelor's degree graduate, you must have completed 100% of your degree in Queensland, graduated in the last 2 years, and your minimum grade point average needs to be 5.5, which is your GPA. You could have any occupation from the 491 list, and you need to be employed full-time in regional Queensland in the nominated or closely related occupation. So this is for the 491 criteria. Again, if you want to apply for the 190, then you would apply under the skilled workers category for a 190 if you're a bachelor's graduate. Now, the third stream that they have, which is the small business owner category. So they always had this, and there are actually no changes. We are not anticipating any changes in the small business owner category. It's still going to be the priority category where you only need minimum of 50 points of your own, and the state will give you 15 points. You can have any occupation from the 491 list, MLTSSL, STSOL, or ROL list, and you need to purchase an existing business in an existing location for a minimum of 100,000, and the business purchase must have existed for a minimum of 2 years prior to purchase. Now, they do need 2 years of BAS statements, so make sure that when you do purchase a business, you get the 2 years of BAS statements from the seller. And you will need to operate the business for 6 months after the settlement, and you need to employ one person that is not a family member and is either a permanent resident, Australian or New Zealand citizen, and you could also have actually up to 2 employees. So if because the requirement is 20 hours employment. So you could have two people doing 10 hours each. So that is also fine. They also have a pathway two under the small business owner category. This is for people who are running a startup business, but then you need to be operating this startup business from last 2 years, and you need to have a minimum turnover of 200,000 in the last 12 months. Now, something they clarified, which was always the case before as well, but they did not have it on the website. But I think they will put these things on their website under the small business owner category, that there is no win financing um, allowed. There is no share transfer, only contract of business sale, cannot purchase business from family member, cannot relocate or sell a business before receiving approval from Migration Queensland, and cannot purchase a business previously owned by a 491 SPO applicant. So this was always there, but then sometimes we had to clarify with them in an email, but now they're going to put this on their website as well. So Migration Queensland has not announced a date when they will open, because they're still waiting for the nomination allocation from the Department of Home Affairs. And the moment they will get it, I think they will open for all their streams, for the three streams that we have just talked about. So I think all states are waiting for the nomination application. So it could happen any day. It could be tomorrow. It could be next week. It could be in 2 weeks' time. Okay, let's see if we have any questions. Okay, Queensland nursing update. So all we know right now is that they will be opening for all occupations. So they will be opening for nurses as well. So for 190, we need a minimum of 80 points, proficient or superior English. So I think the requirements are pretty much the same that we had last time as well for 190. Okay, for automotive, so for trade occupations, there's a good news that you don't need, you like proficient English is not really mandatory, but of course it's a good thing to have it, because we know that we are in a very competitive state. So, and if you're going to apply for a 190, the minimum criteria is 75 points total for 190. Okay, market research analyst. I think this is also open for a 491 under 491 nomination. So you will need 3 months of work experience, 12 months job offer letter, unless you are a graduate from Queensland. Then in that case, you don't need the 3 months work experience. You could just apply as long as you've got a job at the moment. Okay, so you're saying that you're offshore with 5 years of work experience and proficient English. So let's see if your occupation will be open for offshore, because right now we don't have access to the occupation list. So when they will release the criteria, we will know the occupation list at that time, and just have to keep an eye what the requirements are for your occupation. Okay, 85 own points under software engineer. Can I get nomination from Queensland? So they said 3 years work experience, minimum 80 points, proficient or superior English. So if you do meet the criteria, and they have mentioned that they will open for ICT occupations as well, so you do have a chance. So just keep an eye on their website. Right. Enrolled nurse, interstate in Queensland. Queensland does not invite applicants from other states. So if you want nomination from Queensland, you will have to move to Queensland. And in your case, you will either have to meet the 3 months requirement in a regional Queensland, like a work experience in regional Queensland as an enrolled nurse, and a 12 months job offer letter. And for a 190, you will need higher points and 6 months work experience and a 12 months job offer letter in Queensland. So you can't actually apply from other states in Queensland. Engineering technologist, offshore, 5 years work experience, 80 points. Yes, we can have a look, but yeah, your occupation is usually very competitive. So let's see if your occupation will be open, and if in some cases, like they said, they may ask for higher work experience as well. When are they going to start the SBO? So as soon as they will open, they will start taking applications for small business owner stream as well. Okay, if a New South Wales agriculture graduate moves to Queensland with positive skills assessment, what are the chances for agricultural consultant 491 if I get a job in closely related field? I would say good chances, because your occupation is in the critical sector. So, but you may want to see what happens in New South Wales as well. What if you have better opportunities in New South Wales? Then you don't have to move to Queensland. So, New South Wales have not released any of their nomination criteria. So, I would wait for that as well before you make a decision to move to Queensland. Is it mandatory that even offshore applicants need to have a job offer letter? No, they have not mentioned that. So, even prior to COVID times, when they used to applicants, they never required a job offer letter. Agricultural technician in regional Queensland with positive skills assessment. Yeah, just make sure that you get a job and you have 3 months work experience. If you're not the graduate of Queensland, you have good chances. Okay, Preeti, we don't have the occupation list yet, and Migration Queensland anything on their website. We just got this information through a webinar that we attended with them. Production manager, do they have a category for offshore candidates? Yeah, we don't have the occupation list as yet, but they will have 102 occupations for 190 and 114 occupations for 491. Okay, University of Wollongong, why student visa delays? Now, there have been a lot of student visa delays, but what we have noticed is in last few days, a lot of student visas are coming through. So let's hope that I think you should get your student visa soon. Okay. Master's degree MPA in March 2020 in graduate stream. Are we eligible to lodge 190 or 491 marketing specialist? So your occupation will be open for 190 with 80 points for 190. You can try for 190, but it will depend because this occupation is highly competitive as well. For registered nurse, can a Queensland graduate directly apply for 491 after graduating? So if you are a graduate, so it depends what you have done. I'm guessing you would have done a bachelor's. So for a bachelor's graduates, you need a GPA of 5.5 and you do not need a job offer letter, but you need to be currently in your nominated occupation. Okay, mechanical engineer offshore, 70 points. Yeah, the points are actually very low for your occupation because it's very competitive occupation. How about chef? If you're studying in WA, is Queensland a good place to do the JRP? Not really. I think Western Australia is better in terms of if you want to do the job ready program. I would probably stick to Western Australia because if you're coming to Queensland, you are coming to a very competitive state, which is like it's like more competitive than Western Australia. Okay, qualified bricklayer, currently in Melbourne, which state to move with 80 points? I would wait, Shoaib. What if Victoria is looking good for trade workers? So just wait another couple of weeks until Victoria releases their occupation list and the requirements. So if things are looking good in Victoria, then you don't have to move anywhere. Okay, superior English, developer programmer. Yes, very good chances. Okay, yeah, very good chances. So I think IT sector is like they said will be their priority as well for offshore applicants. So if you're somebody who's got high points and 8 to 10 years of work experience, you have good chance. But then of course they have to work with a quota. So I'm not sure how many seats they'll have available for offshore applicants. I would work around 90, at least 85, 90 points for a 190 software engineer or developer programmer if you are an onshore applicant. Management consultant in Queensland with 85 points. Good chances because this occupation, not many people, as you know, are able to get this skills assessment. It's very difficult to get a skills assessment in this occupation. So I would say good chances. Internal auditor, offshore candidates, yeah, very low chances for that one. Statistician, yeah, I would probably increase the points. Graduate from Queensland and working in the field for 7 months. Agricultural, I think I've already answered this question. When they say graduated in the last 2 years, what do they mean? Okay, so they actually mean 2 years from the completion date, not when you actually get, the graduation ceremony. So they want to see the completion date. So your completion date needs to be in the last 2 years. Okay, big data engineer, very good, good chances as long as you've got high points. Aircraft maintenance engineer, offshore. Very good occupation. I don't think it's very competitive. So, good chances if you've got high points and a 3+ work experience. Recruitment consultant, can my employer sponsor you? Sponsor, yes, your employer can sponsor you. They can give you a 482 visa if you've got a minimum of 2 years of full-time work experience. But because your occupation is on the short-term list, so you will get the 482 for 2 years only. And then while you're on the 482, you may want to look at the skilled migration options then, or you could start looking at skilled migration options now. About bridging visa B. So, bridging visa B, basically, as long as you're holding a bridging visa A and you want to travel outside Australia, bridging visa B just lets you travel from in and out of Australia. So, it depends on the duration of the bridging visa B. Mostly, you get it minimum of 3 months to a maximum of 12 months. Okay, from Queensland University, working full time for 7 to 8 months as a management consultant. Um, if you are recently if you've recently graduated, it might be a little bit difficult to get skills assessment as a management consultant. You may want to look at other options. Yeah, already answered that one. Fitter trade, 65 points. Good chance, I would say, because this occupation is not very competitive. So thank you everybody who has been asking questions. You may want to keep the questions coming and I will try and reply to them a little bit later. Today I'm also here in Melbourne. So I was here this morning and I'm here tomorrow as well. So I do have, I think, 1 or 2 spots left in Melbourne. If you would like to book a consultation, I will leave the link in the comment section. So, all the best to everyone. And I would also like to say that if you're looking to apply for the expression of interest with Migration Queensland, as they can open any day, I would suggest that you book a consultation with me or my team so that we can start putting your expression of interest together, start taking your documents so that when they open, everything is ready. So you can go to our website and book a consultation regarding any of the streams now that we have got an idea what kind of criteria they will have, so we can assess your eligibility for Migration Queensland. Okay, thank you. All the best.